We're going to use it as an example piece to show people the proper installation of a converter. It's kind of an ongoing problem with 480s. You'll experience pump failure or converter, the converter gets damaged because the converter doesn't get locked all the way in. There are some nominal measurements taken that should always be the same on a GM or a Chevrolet anyway. One of the measurements, it shouldn't vary, but it does, is because the flex plates are made overseas oftentimes. So where the converter mounts right here on the mounting pad to the block face, which we have right here at the bottom, straight across underneath this hole, we're going to measure. And in this case, we're getting about 985 thousandths. That means this flex plate is off the block about 100 thousandths further than the nominal measurement. It should be 7/8 of an inch, which would be 875 thousandths. So this flex plate is sticking back 100 thousandths over what it should. It could be bowed a little bit from when it was stamped. It could have been pulled before by the converter bolts when it was installed before. But technically, this flex plate is 100 thousandths of an inch further away from the block than it should be. So let me grab a straight edge here. Let's go here to the transmission with a converter in it. You measure from the same bell housing face here to a converter mounting pad there. You should have right at 1 inch. We've got 1 inch and about 18 thousandths. So it's in about 20 thousandths, and that's what we're looking for. We want it to be at least 1 inch. What we're experiencing now is this is in 1 inch and 20 thousandths, and we have 990 thousandths flex plate standoff from the engine. That means we would only have 30 thousandths clearance on this converter to the flex plate when it needs to be between 1/8 of an inch and 3/16 of an inch. We don't have that. In our case, because we build the converters here, we can machine the pads down on this converter slightly. The converter is built to a very exact spec on the height. The stamped steel flex plate is the problem in this case, and it's what's causing us our issue with what would be not enough clearance. So another thing I want to show while we're taking video real quick is before you install the converter, once you check to make sure you have the right measurements like we've just checked, you want to make sure the converter fits the flex plate properly, that you have the right bolt pattern, and that the pilots into the back of the crankshaft. It has to be piloted, and with the differences in LS motors and conventional small blocks and big blocks, sometimes you can run into an issue there. So let me show you. We're going to take the converter and we're just going to go ahead and put it up against the flex plate like it would be mounted in the vehicle. See here, it does butt all the way up against the flex plate. That's one thing you want to check. With some of the pilot adapters used on the LS motor, and this is not, this is a conventional small block, but sometimes you can run into some issues. Different flex plates, different converter build techniques, different adapters. You want to make sure this all fits. The other thing is you want to look up in here, which we're not going to really be able to show on the video, but with a bright light, you want to make sure that converter actually pilots into the crankshaft 1/8 of an inch or so. If it doesn't pilot, there's nothing to center this converter, and you can have a very bad out of balance condition that can tear up the converter, the pump bushing. It could damage a lot of stuff. So that's what I wanted to cover today, just to show what the measurements are. And again, the converter needs to be 1 inch in the transmission or a little better. The flex plate should stand off 7/8 of an inch. Nominally, that would leave you 1/8 of an inch of clearance. We don't have it in this case because of the flex plate. So that's one thing you've got to watch for with all these aftermarket parts when you're doing a converter install. The converters are built to within a 50 thousandths tolerance on the height, and we build ours on the short side to make up for some of this stack up tolerance problem you can have. I would rather a customer have to put shims in between the flex plate and the converter than not have enough room and tear up a pump. So hopefully that'll show some of the things to watch for when you're doing a converter install. That applies to everybody's converter, especially with these overseas flex plates. So you guys out there, watch for this.